Hey there, football fans. Welcome back to Goalside. Kobe Bryant is a sporting legend and one of the biggest basketball players of all time. He broke all sorts of records and introduced a winning mentality like no other throughout his career. However, Kobe was much more than just a basketball player. He was also a football fan, and he followed the sport all the time, despite his hectic schedule in the USA. And Kobe Bryant had an enormous impact on footballers all around the planet. Kobe was born in Philadelphia in 1978. The highlight on him was right there from the get-go. He was the son of a former basketball player, Joe Bryant. Interestingly enough, he was named after a Japanese type of meat called Kobe. His middle name, Bean, is derived from his father's nickname, Jelly Bean. But where did Kobe's passion for football come from? Well, that story originates from Italy back in 1984. Football was, as always, the prime sport in the country, and fate had Kobe's father, Joe Bryant, play basketball for Rieti in Italy. The family fit in great there. The young Kobe picked up the language very quickly, and his parents were happy in a country of wine and relaxation. An Italian journalist told a story about Kobe's childhood in Italy when a boy first moved from America to a new country. Aged 6, Kobe would often jump off the balcony of his parents' house, cross a busy road, and run to a church playground where he would spend hours throwing a ball in the basket. It became very clear very early on that he knew he was the best. His father was very much appreciated for his basketball skills in the country of Italy, so the family often moved from town to town as Joe Bryant sought after and often changed teams. They all had their best days in Italy, living in Reggio Emilia, and Kobe is very fond of his memories from this period in his life. This is also the period where Kobe took basketball more seriously. He used to watch NBA matches from the tapes that his grandfather sent him from America, and sometimes obsessively studied the video despite being just a child. This led him to play against full-grown men at the age of just 12. Kobe himself confirmed that this phase of development separated him from the American basketball educational culture that focused on spectacular highlights rather than the basketball in its essence, something that Kobe learned plenty about while playing in Europe. Passing, screening, moving off the ball, shooting, all the basics. And if we did scrimmage, we'd scrimmage full court, no dribbles allowed. So that set the foundation for me how I came to understand the game and how I now teach the game, Kobe once said. This is also where the future Hall of Famer found his first contact with another love of his life, football. In fact, Kobe's love for the sport was so big that he even admitted that his favorite sport is football back in 2014. I'm actually a huge fan. I grew up in Italy. From the age of 6 to 14, I played soccer every day. It's actually my favorite sport. However, just like millions of kids from around the world, Kobe wasn't particularly great at football, or at least definitely not enough to make it to the pros. He once spoke about his footballing skills, remaining very humble and down to earth, confessing, "I wasn't anything spectacular. I would have moments of doing something crazy that really wasn't done on purpose. I'd pull off a nice move that was unintentional. I started out a goalkeeper because my arms were so long and I didn't really have a good feel at handling the ball. As I practiced and progressed, they moved me to midfield. You'd play soccer and then you'd play basketball, and then you'd play soccer again and you'd play basketball again," said Bryant. It went on and on for 8 years. Kobe would later on move back to America and play basketball in high school. He often cited football as the reason he stood out with his talents, putting footwork and teamwork in the first place, and commenting that football can make you a much better basketball player. Most of the time, American basketball is only taught in twos, 1-2, pick and roll, or give and go, or something like that. And playing soccer growing up, you really see the game in a combination of threes, sometimes fours, and how you play within triangles. You see things in multiple combinations, and growing up playing soccer, my brain became accustomed to seeing those combinations in threes and fours versus 1 and 2. However, football didn't captivate Kobe only on the pitch. On the contrary, he was impressed with the culture surrounding the sport, noting that basketball doesn't have such a fanatic following of the culture, at least in the USA. Passion for football is at another level, without a doubt. It's clear to see the fans arriving at the stadium here today are making a point of demonstrating their allegiance to their team, or country in this case. That only happens now and then in the NBA, in the playoffs and finals. Football is different. It's more like a religion. Growing up in Italy gave me first-hand experience of the fans' intense love of football from an early age. I can guarantee you it's unique. It's a well-known story that Kobe is a big fan of the Italian giant AC Milan. He used to go to the matches as a young kid, attaching himself to Rossoneri and falling in love with the club day in and day out. Speaking about his football role models, Kobe immediately turned to Milan aces first, saying, "It was Marco Van Basten. I grew up a huge AC Milan fan. That was my team. I was right there with Van Basten, Rick Yard, Ruud, Paolo Maldini was just getting started, and we had Franco Baresi. That was my team." Milan was indeed a force to be reckoned with back in the 90s, where they won the European Cup by beating FC Barcelona 4-0 in the final in 1994, amongst other things. It's no wonder that Bryant picked Milan because great recognizes great. However, he wasn't just limited to a single city or a team. In fact, Kobe made loads of friends in football throughout the years. The friendship that maybe even stuck the most with him is the one with the Brazilian artist with the ball, Ronaldinho. Kobe once told an incredible anecdote of how Ronaldinho introduced him to Lionel Messi back in 2004. Bryant told the story as follows. "I'll tell you a story. A long time ago, Barcelona came to Los Angeles. Ronaldinho, who was a good friend, I was talking with him and he told me, Kobe, look, I'm gonna introduce you to the guy who's gonna be the greatest player of all time. I said, you what? You're the best. And he said, no, this kid right here is gonna be the best. And that guy was Lionel Messi, who was only 17. Safe to say that Kobe knew what was coming ahead of most of us. His fandom of football just grew throughout the years, perhaps because it's such a complex sport and Kobe was, above all, a sports nerd wanting to learn absolutely everything there is to know about football. He even talked extensively about his vision of football and his admiration for the sport in all of its glory. Upon receiving the ball, you already have to have a good idea of what you're reading in front of you and what the next move is, and also the structure. They taught me at an early age how to play in triangles and how to utilize space, which wound up helping me tremendously in basketball as well. I love the idea of how quickly the ball moves and how quickly you have to process what's moving right in front of you to make decisions. Just to show how big of a fan he was, Bryant used his spare time in the summers of 2014 and 2018 to watch the World Cup live from the stadium. The fun part about the World Cup is walking into the stadium, all the different cultures. You have different countries, different flags, you hear so many different languages being spoken. But the one common thing is the beauty and love for the game of soccer. That was amazing to be a part of that energy. Aside from his obvious affection for football and friendships within the sport, Kobe was also a great source of inspiration, not only for basketball players, but footballers too. Reason for that? Well, throughout the years of competing at the highest level, Kobe was obsessed with winning, doing everything he could, training countless hours, watching tapes and videos, you name it. As time went on, people took notice of his unmatched work ethic, thus he created a legend of his own, Mamba mentality. Mamba mentality meant that you never break when it matters and take over the responsibility in key moments, resisting all the pressure of the world sitting on your shoulders. Even Kobe himself once explained what it means to have Mamba mentality. To sum up what Mamba mentality is, it means to be able to constantly try to be the best version of yourself. That is what the mentality is. It's a constant quest to try to be better today than you were yesterday. Stories of Kobe's long training hours at the gym are epic. One that the U.S. basketball coach once told still remains perhaps the greatest mural to the legend of Kobe Bryant. It was about 3:30 a.m. I lay in bed, slowly fading away when I hear my cell ring. It was Kobe. I nervously picked up. Hey, Rob, I hope I'm not disturbing anything, right? No, what's up, Kobe? Just wondering if you could just help me out with some conditioning work, that's all. I checked my clock. 4:15 a.m. Yeah, sure, I'll see you in the facility in a bit. It took me about 20 minutes to get my gear and out of the hotel. When I arrived and opened the room to the main practice floor, I saw Kobe, alone. He was drenched in sweat as if he had just taken a swim. It wasn't even 5 a.m. We did some conditioning work for the next hour and 15 minutes. Then we entered the weight room where he would do a multitude of strength training exercises for the next 45 minutes. After that, we parted ways and he went back to the practice floor to shoot. Now comes the crazy part of this story. I was expected to be at the floor again at about 11 a.m. All the Team USA players were there feeling good for their first scrimmage. On the right side of the practice facility was Kobe by himself shooting jumpers. I went over to him, patted him on the back and said, "Good work this morning." Huh? Like the conditioning. Good work. Oh, yeah, thanks, Rob. I really appreciate it. So when did you finish? Finish what? Getting your shots up. What time did you leave the facility? Oh, just now. I wanted 800 makes, so yeah, just now. A man who drowned in sweat, working out the whole night and morning to get ready for the Olympics. This story is what sums up Kobe Bryant. Inspiration for generations and a leader for ages. Kobe Bryant was a unique figure fulfilling our daily lives. His loss was mourned everywhere. Even the people completely unrelated to sports had an affection for such greatness. Rest in peace, Kobe Bryant.